welcome back to another episode of D54, joined by Melanie from Piracy Reviews, joined by Kathy from Cinemondo, and thank you guys for watching this movie with me because it would not have been the same.
No, it would not.
This warrants a discussion and not just a one-person review. So yeah.
Yeah, I think this one, if I did by myself, I would be like, man, what did I do this for?
Why am I watching this?
Why did I subject myself? Not saying that. So to let you guys know, we're talking about the movie Appan from 2022, I think it is. I think it came out during, either during COVID or it came directly to streaming. This is part of an ongoing series that we're doing at the moment to look at more underrated movies that are more under the radar, doesn't have your superstar talent perhaps that you're more familiar with. You know, there's no Mamuti, no Mohanlal, no Fahad Fazil, no Tarina Thomas, no. We're trying to look at movies that are a little bit, undiscovered. Potentially new directors, new faces, and things like that. So we've done a few of these, and we're really enjoying doing these because it's giving us a different side and a different appreciation for the industry. Because we spend so much time talking about your biggest superstars, but there's so much that this industry has to offer. And we thought this is a good way for us to explore some different avenues as well. But Appan, this movie, it's definitely not one that I could say. I was just saying off screen. Not one that I enjoyed particularly, but I can definitely appreciate what they were doing here with this movie. But I'll just get your overall thoughts. Maybe start with yourself, Melanie. What did you think about this movie?
I was just going to say that this film was so intense. I needed to take breaks. I can't imagine sitting in a theater. Now, it is shorter than some other Indian films. I think it's just a little over 2 hours. Yeah. Thank God. And I'm not saying that it's a bad film. I'm just saying that the intensity and the darkness of several scenes made me have to be like, okay, I just need to take a step back, take a break. And then come back to it because it was just kind of too much to take in all at once. The father, the title character, is so horrible. So horrible. And you keep thinking, okay, maybe this is the moment where some moment of affection or no, even till the end.
Nothing.
Till the very end, he was a completely horrible man. And we were all waiting the entire film. How is this man going to die? And it better be horribly. Seriously.
I know.
It was. Now, what I did really admire about the film was there's a character that is branded as a slut. The character's name is Sheila. Mm-hmm. And she's had a sexual relationship with the father. And everyone in the family is against her and curses her out and whatever. And the transformation of the way the rest of the family feels about her to the end of the film was she is considered a part of the family. Yeah. I thought that was one of the best things about the film of saying our initial impressions of someone. And then when you hear their true story and what they've lived through and how, also just shared pain and torture by this guy, that all of them were in it together and they were seeing that she had it even worse than any of them. That I think was one of the redeeming and beautiful things about the film.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, he was I think one of the not failings, but one of the things I didn't quite work in this movie is that they didn't really give the father any kind of depth besides being this just terrible person who was weighing everyone down, and that he was kind of in a way holding them prisoner because they really couldn't leave and they couldn't really do anything about it. I mean, he was paralyzed from the waist down, I guess. And so they were just waiting for him to die, basically. He just yelled and screamed and berated them just nonstop. And there was no relief.
Yes.
Second. So I feel like if they'd given us more understanding about why he was this way, besides just being a terrible person. I mean, we got a little hint here and there that he resented his son, and there was that. But that was a little bit, I wanted to see a little bit more sympathy toward that character, but they never let you. So you were basically just rooting for the guy to die too. And then and here we are waiting. And then we get that same feeling when the rug is pulled out from under us when he starts being able to move his toes. And then you're like, oh, he's never going to die. And it was just like everyone's going, oh no, he's getting better. Like,
I mean, I said this last week, but this film was sort of like Your Great Indian Kitchen, and that the torture that the characters are going through is what we feel as the viewer.
Yes.
And it feels relentless to us. It feels like there's never a break. There's never a moment of lightness. It's just, and so it was a hard headspace to be in for 2 hours.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was a full 2 hours. Like, I think from start to finish, there was not much levity here. From the start, it starts off pretty nasty. It just tells us about how sort of, evil this person is, how we want to kill him. Like, at the start, it starts off as a bit, like, I'm a bit curious as to know, because it takes a while for us to show us the father. Like, they're just showing, what he's about to the other characters for a long time. And then we see him, and then it's even worse when they show him. It's like, oh my God,
it's even worse. Yeah,
this guy's worse than described. But yeah, it was definitely a challenging movie to watch. Like, I felt angry watching this movie. I felt upset watching this movie. I didn't feel good watching this movie. And that's a testament for the director to be able to make you feel these strong emotions throughout the entire movie. And he did it like for the most part, he did it pretty, I guess, honorably, except for the fact that, I mean, I'm never going to be a fan of when any animals get hurt or any kids get hurt, or I would think is cheap, which he used one of these tactics, which I didn't like, which I thought was also unnecessary as well.
Yes, it definitely was, because I don't even understand it. I didn't understand.
No,
why.
I think I think we would talk a little bit off screen, but the only thing I can think about that scene with the animal violence is that, and it sort of relates a little bit to what you were mentioning about him not telling us any backstory. I think the movie's not meant to be about him. I guess what the director is doing, he's not even giving us the audience a chance to sympathize with him. Like, we don't even form your own conclusions about what might have happened. Don't start going into that. It's not about that. He's a monster. You need to accept that. And that's the premise of the movie. And we're not going to give you a chance to think of it otherwise. So in that, I guess the movie did a really good job of showing his impact on the broader society, like how much of a pain he's been. And through the villages and stuff, it's done through more to exposition. They come in and say, we want to kill him. There's people in jail wanting to kill him. The dog's the only time I think it impacts, because it impacts a child so closely.
That was the worst part. Like,
and I think that was the point of it. Like, this guy,
bit of comfort.
Well, and so I think we've seen that it's impacted the son.
Yes.
And that he feels like the entire village is against him. And then I think it's when his breaking point is when he sees how it's impacting that the village killed the dog, which was his son's only friends. And he phrases it that way. So you feel like maybe no other kids will play with him because of whatever reputation his grandfather has. And that's kind of when he's like, okay, fine, we're just moving away then. We have to move to another village and I'm just abandoning my ancestral home and what inheritance I can't live this way anymore. I'm ready to move. And I think that was just, and the way all that he goes through to try to hide it from his wife, from his son, what really happened.
That was very, very hard to see. I did really like this movie in terms of it did have, I feel like this movie had a lot of layers to it too. Like, there was some depth it had, which I especially like. One part I liked about the movie was the game of morality it kind of plays. Like, the game of basically the son not wanting to be his father, despite the fact everyone, including his mother, who I was also not too sympathetic towards because of her attitude towards him either. Like, the fact that there's one thing that really bothers me and upset me when he, almost, I don't want to say rightly, but he goes and he chokes the father for a little bit. And the mother's getting freaked out saying that, don't ever let me get old because you might do that to me. I was like, this seems so unreasonable, because I'm like,
you want him dead too.
Yeah, exactly. You've seen how this man has treated the whole family, and your son is very reasonable. He doesn't do this unless it's called for. Why would he do it to you? You haven't done anything like that. So I felt that was a little bit like, this doesn't really make sense
maybe
to me. Like,
you have to give a perspective of she's lived a lifetime of fear that her son is going to turn into what the father was, right?
Yes,
so that is probably had been her fear. Like, he is horrible. How can I protect my son? How can I make sure that he doesn't become someone like that?
And my biggest fear is he becomes like that.
And then it was like that was a sign of, oh my God, he's turning into him, right? Because I'm seeing violence from my son. And it wasn't like I'm hearing about it. I'm seeing it with my own eyes. So, but the mother character, I mean, I felt like, okay, I mean, obviously this is a spoiler filled filled discussion. But when Sheila finally kills him in the end, I felt like it's literally like I'm killing the patriarchy, because the whole system of this patriarchy, that this man has control over everyone in the household, even though he's lying paralyzed in a bed, and he infects all of their lives so much, that it's just like it was this freedom for everyone. And you saw the son then protecting his mother by saying, "Don't come in," and he cleans him up and is just like, "Okay, we're just going to say he had a heart attack," but also lovingly kisses him on the forehead. It's like there's a lot of mixed emotions. Now, I'm not quite there with my own mother, but I do know people who are caregivers for elderly patients, parents, and then they can go through personality change as they have maybe something like Alzheimer's, right? And they can become violent and become abusive. Yeah. And it's so difficult to live with. But this film wasn't dealing with that. They weren't saying that this person has changed and that there was a loving relationship before and now you're dealing with someone. It's that they lived a lifetime of this abuse. Yeah. And I mean, I was sympathetic to the daughter, the Ananya's wife, this young woman in the household. Rosie. Like, how did Rosie buy it? She's like, "Can't I just escape and go home to my family for Christmas, please?" Like,
I know. Correct. And I was so relieved when he said, "That's it, we're moving out." I'm like, "Please, God, please move, please move, please move." And then
I was the same.
I mean, I just and I would have thrown everything away. I don't want the inheritance. I don't want anything. I just want
definitely.
My God.
Yeah.
I know.
Right. I mean, I'm wondering, is this a first-time director? Because there didn't seem to be an article about this director.
I can't. I mean, they don't even have a link on. Like, they don't even have a link on Wikipedia.
Right. So what I would say, if it is a debut director, maybe this is a very personal story, right? And maybe he's getting out feelings about some sort of situation that maybe happened in his own family or something that he witnessed. But the problem with what he's doing to the viewer is, as you said, Amit, there's no moment of levity. Like, how about something that brings this father down to size? I don't know, something comic that happens, or I don't even know what it would be, but it was so unrelentingly dark that it was very difficult as a viewer. I admire the film, but I can't say that I love the film. I admire I said, especially what happened to the Sheila character and how she was brought into the family after being slut shamed. Then they learned the true story. Yeah. And it seemed like her story was not unique, that the father had done this to other women, and that's why the guy that gets out of jail, I still wasn't exactly clear on if it was his sister or his some woman close to him had been sexually assaulted by this guy. That's why he wanted revenge.
Yeah, I think he had taken his life. Some life was lost because of him.
Well, the person committed suicide. The woman committed suicide.
Yeah, correct.
Had been sexually assaulted. Yeah. But I don't remember if it was a sister or what, but that's why this boogeyman, the guy with the sledgehammer, that was his backstory.
Correct.
And I didn't understand, why were they trying to stop him? It seemed like a reaction that I didn't understand, because here's this guy coming down and you're like,
moral quandary, right? That's a moral quandary.
Again,
but he would have taken away.
Christmas Day. It's on Christmas Day. Like, right? You
Merry
God
Christmas.
And whatever. Okay, but I'm just saying, God is in your mind, right? Because it's this holy day. And the son said, "I can't live with myself.
Yeah, if I
just wheel my dad into town so everybody can kill him."
Yeah, correct. It is a game of morals, but that was also one part I struggled with it, and it's also why I would say I didn't love this movie, because of that purpose as well. Like, with a movie like this, which is obviously trying to send a message and obviously trying to tell a story, it kind of sent that scene at the end when the son is defending his father, willing to go into a skirmish with this man who's obviously out for revenge, the thing that I was thinking of, like, the father was a bad father for many reasons. One of the reasons was he didn't take care of his son. Now, here the son is putting himself in a position to get into a brawl with this man who the other man wants him to actually kill him with the sledgehammer man, but he also has a son himself. So I was like, at some point, you should have some responsibility for yourself and think about, if you don't want to be like your father, you have to be there to protect your family. And what you're doing right now is you're not actually protecting your family. So while it might seem noble that you're trying to help defend him, it's actually sending the wrong message that you will defend somebody who's an absolute monster, despite whatever they've done, despite even deserving to die in some ways, with what he's done to, according to a lot of people in the village, and for things that had sort of shown us, like that man with the sledgehammer was broken down in tears. He's not a crazy man. It seems like he's very measured. He's like, no, this guy did a lot of really bad things to me. I've lost a lot of life because of him. I will only be settled if he's dead. And the son is defending him. I'm like, this is not the right time. Like,
right. It's messed up masculinity, and it took a woman to take a weapon and go in and finish.
Finally,
right? It was like, enough of this. Machismo battle. Literally rolling around in the dirt. Over this.
Exactly.
There were so many times where I thought, like, how about when the mother accidentally eats the curry that she cooked and is like, are there new spices? Like, not realizing and then like throwing it up.
That's.
And I kept thinking, okay, it's because she poisoned it. She's gonna poison the guy. Like, there were so many moments when I'm like, when the Sheila character came in, I was like when she said, hey, let's cut down this rope, I'm like, oh man, she's making him even more helpless, right? And then she's gonna do something. And it was like, just the way that she got the revenge finally, it also didn't completely it didn't completely make sense. It was so violent when she could have poisoned his food. She could, I don't know, like, there's so many other things.
A pillow over his face, anything.
No kidding.
But I did think it was interesting. It almost felt like it was a film done during the pandemic in a way, because it had a very small cast. It was all in one place,
right.
Like one location, one area, And I did like how they kind of worked in the courtyard, like how everything was sort of happening in like the heart of this family, and he's in one window, just this constant reminder of toxicity, yelling, screaming, berating everyone, and they go outside and they can't even escape it all night long, just like, oh God. And then they would have little moments where they go in the kitchen and they're all like defending their part of the kitchen. Like, that's your stove over there. I'm on this stove. This whole like territorial thing, because they have nothing else. It's like, oh,
correct.
Yeah.
But they did. I was relieved to see, because this is what I have to talk about. There was that little cute puppy they kept carrying around. I was like, my God. And she kept putting it on top of them. Like, that's very high. I was all worried about this dog. And then
she put it on the stove. I'm like, when you told me something was going to happen to a dog, I'm like, oh my God, it's going to knock over a pot of boiling water. So
I was relieved when that dog was okay later. I was like, okay, so it's still one dog did die. Unfortunately, it looked like a fake dog, but it was still the context of what had happened to the dog, why it happened. Not really even sure. What was the point of it? Causing the child pain. Like, it just felt like one of those, like, I'm just going to twist the knife for no real good reason, except that I want you to feel bad. And so I feel like that was a cute kind of moment in the movie that kind of turned me off to it a little bit. And then having in the back,
I agree,
all that noise, I'm like, what?
It was like a jump scare. It was like a jump scare.
It was.
Yeah.
It was like a
fake
kind of
a shock.
Total horror movie stunt with something hanging in a tree. You see bloody collar. I was like, oh.
Yeah. I think the movie did a good job of having a lot of impact without that. That was probably the least powerful moment, which I felt. And that's why I feel like it didn't really require it. But hey, it probably was for that, just to be like, okay, let's put something shocking in the movie.
Yeah, let's juice it a little. It's like, everybody's getting bored. Let's kill something. It's like, well, you killed a guy. You're going to kill somebody.
Think about how much tension, though, that they were able to do by basically, as you said, it was probably filmed during the pandemic. It was essentially one location. Yeah. And yet we had all of this tension to the point that I was like, okay, I need to take a break.
I know. It's claustrophobic.
Right? It was kind of, even though it was an open courtyard, it was claustrophobic.
It really was,
And I'm sure there are so many, let's think about like Joji. That was another thing where you have like a very powerful man who is terrorizing his whole family and whatever. So, but this was like another level because it was this sexual assaults that he must have done to everyone in the village. Like, oh my God.
It's so noisy. Apparently this is this director's second film. The first one was French Ripple of Rum, which I haven't seen.
Yes, I looked it up as well.
He's done Paramount.
Yeah, I've actually heard of that movie. I think it came out recently. It sounds very interesting, and it also
is familiar.
Yeah, but that movie, interesting enough, it actually. So I wanted to mention this a little bit. The main, I guess, the son character, played by Sonny Wayne, I thought he did a really fantastic job.
Yeah, he did. He's very sympathetic.
Like there was a couple of scenes with him just basically delivering monologues, like quick short snippets, but they were like pretty powerful and pretty hard hitting. I thought he did a fantastic job. So he's in that movie as well, along with Lukman, who we saw in our last movie that we talked about in Saudi Malika. So we're seeing two sort of faces that we've seen recently in that one. But yeah, this is his third movie. He's done a movie called, as you mentioned, Kathy, called French Rip Lavam, which was his first. This is his second movie, and then Peru Money, which is his latest one. But yeah, I mean, like, his son was really good. All the characters were really good. There wasn't, I don't know if I have too much more to really say about this movie. Overall, if you would ask me, do I recommend it? I'm sorry to say, I probably would not recommend it. It's
so unpleasant.
Yeah, I mentioned it to my friend Catherine, and she's like, I still have scars from that movie. You know, but like, I get what she's saying, because if you just kind of go in unaware, it's so dark. It's so dark and unrelenting.
It really is. And I guess it is okay to watch a movie like this every now and then. But I was thinking of other sort of dark-ish kind of movies. Joji was one, but Joji has this kind of, the fact that it's based on Hamlet, or is it Hamlet or one of the, it's based on one of the Shakespearean plays. So it's Macbeth, sorry. Yeah, it has sort of levels to it. There's different characters. There's different messages.
A little bit of humor, too.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, there's darkness to the themes, but again, there was a balance of moments of lightness where you could laugh. Yeah. And here it was just, there were no, I mean, a lot of filmmakers, like, you can have something that's an extremely serious topic, but like, you have to give the audience a moment to breathe a little bit. You know?
And it also shows, like, it gives you the hope that why would you put yourself through all this if there's not the good and the bad? You can't just have all bad. Yeah. There should be layers to it, so you understand why people want to fight for their lives and why they want to fight for something better is because there is something better.
That's the other thing I did want to mention. The other thing that this movie did, the only moment of levity I can think of, which I don't know if it's levity or not, it might just be another perspective on it, but this character, Nanja's younger sister, played by Grace Antony, she's there for a little bit. Yeah, when she sees things are going bad, she's like, let me get out of here, get on the bike and let's go. I thought that was pretty funny. I was like, yep, I've been too much here.
Well, and also like her saying, well, I want to come here for Christmas so I can rest. And Rosie's just like,
what do you think this place is? Do you think this is a place to rest? Are you seeing what we're going through?
I also kind of thought the one little tiny moment of levity was when the woman was having a dream and she's all smiling and she wakes up going, I had the best dream where he died.
Yeah, that's how the movie starts.
That was a good beginning. But then
it was like so depressing.
The only other thing I could think of, because I think there's this one line which kind of hit me with Sheila's character. She says something along the lines of when after she murders Iti, when she murders him, she says something like I'll take the blame, I'll go to prison, at least I'll have somewhere to stay then. That was like, oh my god, that's gonna hit me. But then it was kind of like, what this movie does tell you is like there are worse places than prison in the world, and what these people are experiencing it is worse. True. It is the worst thing you can think of. It is beyond your imagination. So we all think, okay, that's the worst place you can be. No, push that further. There's actually worse places, and to be in that environment that this family has got themselves in, there's nothing worse than that. I mean, I could think of, maybe there is.
There were layers that I was thinking about, because the guy was cranky because they just left him to lie there when he could have been sitting in the wheelchair and been in the courtyard or whatever, but they didn't want him because then he would be even more in the middle of their lives, and they wanted him as isolated as they could. So it was like this vicious cycle of he had to yell to get attention because he was sitting there bored in this room flat on his back. So it was just a really toxic from beginning to end.
I know. It sounds like he was always toxic and terrible, though.
Oh, absolutely.
He had to take control in some form. So even though he was up and about being toxic and terrible, then they was flat on his back being toxic and terrible. It was like he just to be louder about it. So it sounded like they were like, "You're not different. You're just immobile. That's the only difference right now." So I don't blame him for sticking him somewhere.
Yeah, correct. No, it was the only other movie I could think of from like because when I was mentioning Joji, I didn't really think of Joji too much in this movie. The movie that I thought of, funny enough, was Jallikattu, the Lijo Joseph Pellicer movie, because that's also quite dark in some ways. But the thing with Lijo movies is his movies are so metaphorical that as soon as you start watching that movie, you know he's trying to tell a story about anarchy or about the world collapsing or something like that. So it kind of go into this other world where you're like, what is he trying to tell by these characters? This movie had none of that. This movie was so grounded in reality. It's not a metaphor for anything. This is just the reality of these people's situation. So it's probably one of the darkest movies I think I've ever seen. It's from the Malayalam film industry. It's definitely the darkest I've seen so far. And I'm not going to watch any other movies this dark like this again because
are all his movies like this? I mean, it'd be interesting.
I would hope.
I guess I'm asking commenters too, like. Have you seen all of this guy's movies? Should we watch another one? Because at this point, there's such a bad taste that I don't really want to explore more of this filmmaker's films if they're all this like depressing and terrible. And it's not that I'm really veering away from depressing and terrible all the time. There just has to be more than just the relentless like. Almost like the only point is to make you miserable, like something else. Like I don't even know what we were supposed to learn from this movie or what.
I mean, I guess it was just the moral quandary that the characters were in.
But they didn't even pay off. It didn't even pay off at the end. Like they had moral quandary, but it was taken out of his hands because she did the dirty work, and then they were all like, okay, well, I don't even have to take, someone did it and I wasn't looking and okay. I mean, it just, in a way, she kind of absolved them of the whole point of the film. So you're like, okay, what was the point? So that was that's a little bit,
That's what I was mentioning about sort of the messaging. The messaging of the movie itself was a bit confusing, which is what I was sort of getting at. It's not really, it doesn't hit you that hard because you're like, you defended this guy and now Sheila's killed him and it's okay. And now you're lovingly saying goodbye to him. You're kind of rewarding a monster. Like, I don't know. Yeah. Some parts of it didn't sit too well with me, but
well, I mean, the kiss on the forehead, but part of dressing him up is covering up the crime, right? And just saying,
that's true.
Everything's fine here.
He just died finally.
Everything's good. You just
and everybody's like, it's fine. We don't need to investigate this.
It's all good.
Yeah, it's chest pain.
Everybody's relieved, like, oh, good, he died. Okay, we're so sorry for your loss.
I don't think anyone would have questioned his death because it seemed like the whole society was, backing. They were saying we could get him killed. They were saying, I think there was a scene where the guy's like, you don't have to leave here. We'll organize to have him killed. So the society was helping him. They were kind of on his side.
Go to Christmas Mass. It's all good.
Fine.
Just don't bring him. Don't bring him. That's all.
Oh, it's really funny.
All it was. Oh boy. Well, thanks for joining me for this review. Thank you for watching this movie with me. It was definitely
thank you. I mean, for suggesting it. No.
But I definitely, I kind of apologize for picking this movie.
No, I mean, it led to sometimes a movie like this leads to the better discussion instead of us all just being like, wow, that was good. I don't know what to say about it. It was good. I mean, here we had a lot to say about it. So sometimes a movie like this, it leads to a better discussion.
Exactly.
Despite the pain.
It wasn't a bad piece of filmmaking. It was just a bad storyline that was just depressing and not fun to watch. And I mean, it's not bad like The New Crow is bad, which is just bad. We're talking about just, hard to watch. Okay. Had to get my dig.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Melanie. Thanks a lot, Kathy. Make sure to check out Paradise Reviews with Melanie. Make sure to check out Cinemundo with Kathy. Like, subscribe, comment, do all that good stuff. And thanks again, guys.
All right.
We'll catch you guys on the next one.
Bye.